in the middle of the instrument, you might be thinking, so what? That's fine. But now we put it down an octave with the spatula keys. That's where all the headache seems to happen. And for me, each of these spatula keys, whether it's low B flat, low B, low C sharp, they all have their own difficulties that you have to deal with, and the movement in between notes subsequently becomes tricky. What's up, everybody? Adam Larson here for Tonebase, and today I'm really looking forward to talking to you about technique. The first thing we're going to talk about is an exercise that was taught to me by a great mentor of mine, a guy named Doug Stone, and I had him as a teacher at Birch Creek Summer Music Camp when I was just 14 years old. And, one of the problems that we encounter as saxophonists is kind of dealing with the lower and upper extremities of the saxophone, right? So the higher we get, the harder it gets, the lower we go. Sometimes the more difficult it is to get those notes to come out. So one of the exercises Doug showed me was this thing called pinky weights. And if you aren't, thinking about it, now it's time to think about it. Here's your pinkies. And when you use them on the saxophone, how often do you use them? The answer is probably not that often, right? And if you're an experienced improviser, a lot of times you're playing them as maybe like an explosive note at the bottom of a solo. But to really kind of get into the micro specificity of those notes, you have to working on that little sub area of the instrument. And so to do that, Doug showed me this exercise called pinky weights. And I'm going to play the exercise, the notes, in an octave that is not the octave that we're going to be working with eventually, just so you can hear sonically what it's supposed to sound like. And it's kind of this snaky chromatic thing. So I'll play it here in the middle of the horn. It starts on B flat. So you hear that kind of, like I said, snaky chromatic line. And in the middle of the instrument, you might be thinking, so what? And that's fine. But now we put it down an octave with the spatula keys. That's where all the headache seems to happen. So I'm going to play it here slowly. And I'm going to start on my low B flat. It's the lowest note that we have in the saxophone. Now, if you've never played something like that that low before, it's going to be tricky to get all those notes to speak like that. And if you have, you already know how tricky it is. So another thing just to kind of keep in mind is that I'm playing those notes a little bit with a subtone in that range. I don't know if that's easier and harder than playing it with a straight tone, but the whole point is to be able to play this exercise in that register of the saxophone with fluidity, making sure each note is even and speaks. And eventually we'll ramp up the tempo to make it, this kind of like agile, technical exercise. So you notice too that playing at that tempo, you're going to have to breathe unless you take a big breath, which I didn't just then. So if you want to try to do it all in one breath at that tempo, make sure you take a big one. So let's say that I'm going to play it now just a little bit faster so I don't have to breathe in the middle of it. Again, here's what it sounds like in the regular register. So now I put that down an octave. Okay, so that's pretty difficult to do. And the cool thing about this is that you can move it then to the other spatula keys. So I started on low B flat. If I move this to low B, the pattern becomes the following. And again, I'll play it in a register that is not so low so you can kind of hear what it sounds like. We're going to take that exercise and do it down one octave. And for me, each of these spatula keys, whether it's low B flat, low B, low C sharp, they all have their own difficulties that you have to deal with, and the movement in between notes subsequently becomes tricky. All right, so I'm going to go back to the first one on low B flat. I'm going to play it faster now. So. And if you can see my pinky down here, I'm doing a lot of work, so I think about this being low, then inside, then outside, right? That's how I'm thinking about it. It's low B flat, and then low B here, low C sharp. So if you just watch the pinkies. That's hard to do for many reasons. One, to get the sound to come out. Two, to have the accuracy to make sure that as you're hitting those spatula keys, you're getting the note to come out. And then obviously the tempo is pretty quick, right? So again, we started with this at the beginning of the episode, shall we say. We moved it down an octave. And now we're going for speed. And that's very difficult to do, but again, it's something that will force you to work on that specific region of the saxophone so that we're not just thinking about playing, okay, every time we play a low note, it's got to be loud and honky, and it's the only thing that we use it for. No, we can actually start to use this part of the region of the saxophone to make some lines. So I would encourage you to practice this exercise, again, middle of the instrument so you can kind of hear what you're going for as I've demonstrated. And again, you can do it on B flat, B, C, C sharp, knock yourself out. But the entire intervallic structure, as I'm sure you'll see here, is the same. And so if you move it down an octave, it just creates problems, which are good. Problems inform how we practice and what we should practice. But again, I hope you enjoy this little mini exercise called pinky weights.